Some of these things sell for crazy money. Who's buying them and why they're buying them, I cannot tell you, but I can tell you these will sell for good money.
Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jazz, this is Brad.
And together we are two Aussie thrifters. In today's video, we're gonna share with you 20 unexpected items that you can sell on eBay for huge profit. Let's get into it. The first one is broken things. Obviously, not all broken things are gonna be worth money, but if it's stuff like this PS2 with a broken front flap, people will actually pay for parts. So they might be using the parts out of this PS2 to fix their own PS2, and they can actually save themselves a bit of money by doing this. They're not going and buying a brand new one for triple the price. So have a look around your house or your warehouse and find those broken things that are worth some money and get them up on eBay.
Just make sure that under the condition, you make sure that you select that it is broken, not working, and mention it in your description so they definitely 100% know it broken.
Our next unexpected item is these Mikado pasta machines. Now, not every single pasta machine is going to be worth money, but certain brands in this can do really well. We've actually had 3 or 4 of these over the last 90 days, and we've only got 1 left in stock, and they've been selling between $50 and $60 most of the time. So keep your eye out for Mikado pasta machines. Here is a very interesting one. It is fabric glue. Now, again, this is very much brand based, but we picked up these Beacon fabric tacks not too long ago, and we've sold a bunch of these for around $40 a piece. So keep your eye out for replenishables that people are gonna use. And if they're discontinued, even better. Our next category is knives.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
And with knives, obviously not every knife is going to sell for really good money, but we had a really nice pocket knife recently, Case XX. So keep your eye out for that brand when you're out garage sailing, because those little pocket knives can sell for some really good money. We also sell some cutlery sets in certain brands, and they do quite well for us. So don't be put off by knives because they can make you some very good money.
Speaking of, the next one is actually cutlery.
There are some great brands of cutlery out there. We try to pick up ones that are still full sets. Wiltshire does quite well for us, especially if they're new in box like this one. And there are some really interesting patterns and handles of these that will help boost up that price point. Here's one for all you number nerds out there. It is vintage calculators. Now, some of these go for ridiculous amounts of money. You want to be looking out for old Canon, old Casio, and HP. And with a trick with these, often they'll have the actual model number up in the top there. So you can actually look for comps on an exact model that you find, but trust me, these things can make you some serious money. The next one is vintage magazines. We have sold a whole bunch of these vintage motorcycle magazines from about the 70s through the 90s is probably your best bet. And you can get some of those not so family friendly ones as well that'll do quite well. But if you get them in bundles like this, they can sell for 40 to 50 bucks. So definitely keep your eye out for these sort of estates and places like that where you can get bulk vintage magazines for a good price because they can sell for bank on eBay. The next item I wanted to show you, but we're actually all sold out, and it is vintage typewriters, especially in the metal ones with some pretty colors on them. They can sell for some crazy money, and damn, they look good. So good that I have to try and keep them out of Jazzy's collection because she likes to stack them up at home.
I think people avoid picking up typewriters to sell online because they're big and they're chunky, but at the prices that you can get for some of them, it's worth packing it up in a box and shipping it off.
Next up is a weird one. It is old clock radios and alarm clocks. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but we've been doing really well in this category lately. You want to be looking for stuff with wood grain, and anything that has crazy knobs or screens tend to do really well for us. So keep an eye out in your alarm clock section because these things can make some serious cash. Sticking in the radio theme, it is these little pocket radios. Now, you want to be looking for brands like Sony and maybe some Panasonic on these, but you'll be very surprised at what some of these can actually go for. Who's buying them and why they're buying them, I cannot tell you, but I can tell you these will sell for good money. This one really surprises me. It is these old kerosene Coleman enamel lamps. The older, the better. This one's actually from the 80s and we do have the box with it, but we've sold some even newer ones for some pretty reasonable money. So if you're at a garage sale and you see one of these bad boys, it might be worth looking up the year that it's from, and that's usually on the base of them, or the model number if you can find that, because some of these go for hundreds of dollars. The next category is Bibles, and some of these things sell for crazy money. You want to be looking at stuff pre-1930s. If it is leather bound or gold gilded or even pictured, they can be worth some serious money. We have sold some Bibles up to a couple $100. So keep your eye out for Bibles when you're in the thrift store or garage sales, because there is definitely some money to be made in these. The next category is microscopes, and not all microscopes are made the same, but there are some great brands out there that sell for serious money. This one's a pretty cheap one and not a great example, but it's literally the only one I had left in stock. So keep your eye out for some microscopes. You can often tell by the model number on the base of them, and you can do a quick search on eBay and you should be able to find some comps for them. But if you look for the bigger ones with more adjustable settings, then you're probably going to be in the money. And next up is computer mice. Now there's a whole bunch of computer mice that are worth absolutely nothing, but if you keep an eye out for these ergonomic mice, especially if they're new in box like this one, they can be worth some serious money. Some of the early Microsoft stuff, late 90s, early 2000s, is also worth keeping an eye out for. So next time you're in the computer section at your local shop, give them a quick look up, because you'll be quite surprised at what some of these can sell for. Here's one that I don't hear too many people talking about. It is remote controls. And like every other category we've talked about today, there is a whole bunch that are worth absolutely nothing. But ones that we look out for are these like Universal, Logitech, and the Harmony series does quite well. Sony and Panasonic and brands like that, there'll be some in that range as well that are worth looking up. But the great thing about these is a lot of time they'll have the model number either on the back or the front, so you can have a quick look up on eBay to see what they're selling for. Next up is a tiny little item with some serious cash to be made. It is these little AFX slot cards. Anything from sort of the 90s and back is where you want to be on these, and anything that came outside of the normal packs and on their own is harder and rarer to find, and therefore worth a bit more money. So keep an eye out for AFX slot cards. And a hot tip, even some of the casing on some of the older models can be worth some pretty decent money. Now this one is a pretty interesting one. It is these old massage therapy pads, and if you're lucky, the old massage therapy wands. Now don't get confused with the other vibrating ones that you can buy, because these ones you don't need a special adults only store to sell. So these things can be worth some serious money. The older the better. I have no idea why people buy these, but they do. Next up is golf clubs, and the brands that you really want to be looking out for are sort of your Pings and Scotty Cameron, because they sell for silly money. Obviously you want to be getting clubs that are in really good condition and their heads haven't been all scratched up and smashed, but Ping is a great brand to look out for, and there is a lot of intricacies with the golf clubs, so make sure you do your research. We have sold some golf clubs for well over $100 in the past, and I know there's some that go for up to $1,000. And a quick tip on these, keep an eye out for the right-handed ones. A lot more of golf players tend to be right-handed because they've either learned to play right-handed or they were right-handed to start with, so they're a lot easier sell than a left-handed club. Next category is tarot cards, and there's a heap of tarot cards that I wouldn't even shake a stick at, but there are some out there that are worth picking up. We keep an eye out for Doreen Virtue. Now this is a lower end set, but some of her sets go really high, and there's a couple brands out there like Mythic Tarot that sell for hundreds of dollars, so definitely worth keeping your eye out for some tarot cards. Do your research when you find them, but definitely a category you need to be looking into. The next unexpected item is these old fantasy books, usually put together for people like Boris Vallejo, Frank Frazetta, all those sort of 60s, 70s and 80s fantasy artists do quite well. We've sold quite a lot of the Frank Frazetta stuff for $100 plus, so they're definitely sought after. So keep your eye out for these old fantasy books put together by those famous artists. The next category is another one I can't actually show you physically because we are sold out of these, and it's some of those vintage landline phones. And don't go out there and buy every Telstra phone that you find laying around in an op shop, but there are some great brands like Bang & Olufsen that sell for some really good value. So make sure you do your research in this category, because there is again a lot that aren't going to be worth money, but some are definitely going to be worth picking up. So I hope this video has given you some ideas of other categories you might be able to sell in. Obviously these are just items that we've sold in our eBay store, and there is thousands of categories out there that are probably unexpected that you can sell in. Let us know in the comments below some of your unexpected sales so we can have a look, and we will see you next time on Aussie Thrifters. Bye for now.